send a quick note of gratitude your way. This woman came into my life and she's just fabulous. She's going to go so many places, and I'm just so grateful to be in her presence today. I can't wait to have this conversation. I just ask for anything that needs to flow through that we can inspire this generation, the future generation, anyone out there that's meant to hear this. Please let it flow through us. Please provide us a safe space, white light us all. And thank you for this opportunity. And thank you for this wonderful woman. I really look forward to the conversation. So it is.
Oh, thank you. That was really beautiful.
I just have to, because I don't know, it's you know, it's not every day that you find souls like you. You know, you're a really wise, no, you are. You're a really wise soul, and you're courageous, and you step out of the limits. And I want the world to see that in you. And that's why we're having this conversation, because, you know, and I, you know, yeah, I admire you, you know, I do. And so I just need to put that gratitude out there and thank the gods for aligning us, right? Because I think it's really wonderful and special, and that can't be taken for granted, right?
Thank you. And I really admire you. And this is where I want to begin this discussion, is how I met Rachael was, and she doesn't remember this moment because it was such a small, like, act of kindness, I think, from your end. It's just you being you and not really even thinking too deeply into it, but it changed my life. And I was in this class, and it was a very like scary technical class, and I hadn't done full time. So I was just like, I just dropped out of my science degree at Monash. I had just dived into the deep end thinking, okay, I'm just gonna like give this career a whirl. And I was attending like some technical classes, and there was this class that it was just really a lot of pressure. The energy was just really cliquey, and I think that everyone else knew each other from full time, and I came in like fresh 18, and no one ever made an attempt to talk to me. They ignored my presence. I felt so invisible. I felt so small. Even when I tried to talk to people or compliment people genuinely, people would just ignore me, and I felt just so invisible. And I remember you, because you were one of the only pros that were taking that class at that point, and you were always selected for like the end dance, you know, the small groups, and for filming and things, and you were just always, you know, the choreographer would always demonstrate on you, and I just remember like looking up to you, and I, you know, followed you on Instagram, and like, oh my God, she's like worked in all these musicals, and she's a superstar, and she's such a pro, and you just radiated this aura. Anyway, and you were the only one that ever smiled at me and ever made me feel noticed. And I just remember like I came week after week, and I was like I was just going so hard and trying like just so hard, and I was just always at the and you said some passing comment to me. You came up to me and you were like, "Hey, I just want you to know, like, keep your chin up, like, don't worry about any of these people and their energy. You came here to train, so you just like zone in on you. You know, don't even worry about the choreographer. Just take what you want out of this class. Like, you're doing so amazing." And I was like, oh my God, like it literally shook my whole world. Like, I get like so emotional thinking about it, because I was so, yeah, sorry, yeah.
No, I'm getting emotional too, because I just yeah, keep going. I'm just gonna, yeah, we're having a moment.
Oh, I knew the tears would come out today. Anyway, that little act of kindness, I feel like just domino affected, and I feel like I've tried to pass that on as well. When I've become more of like a leader within spaces. But yeah, from that point onwards, I was like, whoa, I feel like she just has like such great energy. And then when you posted like, I'm doing coaching now, I was like, absolutely, I need to like be mentored by her. And so when I was touring on Anne Juliet, it was so interesting because I was in this period of feeling like the most, I guess, commercially successful I have been, yet the most creatively unfulfilled and unsatisfied I've ever been, to the point where I felt like my creative spirit, my creative light was so dimmed. And then Rachel and like your mentorship, you just came in and just you gave me exactly the right support that I needed. And it's because like you had been through that time and time again as well from your own experience. So I'd love to ask, like, I guess you've done so many musicals, like you've done so many tours. Like how many? I can't remember. I remember you telling me, but I remember being like, whoa.
Oh, how many musicals or how many like projects, like film, TV as well?
I think musicals. Start with
Musicals alone, I think I'm gonna say maybe 13.
whoa.
I think if I think around that, I'd say, yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know. It is actually, yeah, I'd say that. Yeah, I have to count.
I think when I had met you, you just finished Chicago.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, I've done Chicago twice as well. So yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so there you go. All-time favorite,
Crazy.
100%.
Do you have any recollection of that moment in class? Probably not, right?
You know what? I don't. And this is the thing, like I
Yeah.
remember when you first messaged me and you said something along those lines that, I'd met you in class and everything. If I'm honest, and I feel like bad saying I don't remember coming up to you and doing that. But at the same token, it is just who I am. And so when
Exactly. I
I
was going to
do
say.
just, this is the thing, like when I see someone, because I see it all the time in class, or see it in any in any audition actually, like sometimes, and to my detriment, because I'm auditioning as well, I will go up to someone if they're struggling or like they've made a mistake and they're feeling bad about themselves or they've hurt themselves, or I will go up and make sure that they're okay. Or if I can see that someone has so much potential and is just a beacon of light within their being, but external factors are dimming that, I will just go up to them and say, hey, stick in your own lane. This has, yeah, and exactly what I said to you, I must have just, take away that external noise. What's your vision? What's your true north? And stick at that, because the right people will smile at you. The right people will want the right things for you. All the other noise and all the other crap is jealousy, is competition, is everything that's not creative and loving and why we do it. And so I don't remember that moment, but I do remember many a moments that, and it just sounds like something I would have done, but I am just so happy that that happened for you. And then that, was a trickle and effect. So yeah, I don't remember it.
Oh, no, but exactly how I started off, right? Like it was such a nothing moment for you because you're just being you, and this is just how you are, and what you do. And but for me on the receiving end, it was like such a big moment for me. It was like such a turning point, which is so lovely. So thank you again, because if not for that moment, I would never have reached out to you for mentoring and deepen this relationship, So that, yeah. Anyway, the question that I was going to ask is like being, I guess, in so many projects, but also commercial musicals. Do you feel as though I want to hear your perspective on the whole like creativity part of it? Because I feel like sometimes when you commercialize art, although I do believe that art within commerce has its place,
Mhm.
there is this sort of like compromise that happens in terms of the actual creativity. How do you negotiate that?
I think it's really hard. Like, if I'm honest, some of my favorite projects that I've done have been profit shares, have been smaller projects where they created every ounce of the material on me. I had a say. I used my why. I was an artist. I used my skills. The work resembled, because it resembled me. I could, go with the choreographer, and I could, go with the musical director. Oh, this feels good, and so when I performed, I was great, because there was nothing, there was no set thing that would make, me sound a little funky or whatever. But the flip side of that is that you don't usually get paid, you know, or it's very minimal. And how then can you live off that? You know, and so instead it becomes a passion project, and then you have, you know, your side hustle, your job or something like that. And as an artist, that's, you know, and that's what it usually is. And then you usually go and do maybe a commercial musical, and, you know, you get paid, right? Because it's a, you know, it's a job, and you have the perks of it being a commercial musical, or a commercial whatever job. But then with that, usually, unless you're originating a project, doing, you know, a workshop, you know, you're then stuck in the parameters of what that job is and how that role was originally created. And particularly if you're working in Australia, it's not usually created on you, is it? It's come from Broadway, the West End or something. And so then you are stuck in those confines, and you can feel like a robot and a cookie cutter. And that does and can diminish your creativity, because you can make an acting choice, and you have to make it slightly different every day so it stays fresh and alive 8 times a week, so your performance doesn't become stale. But because it's so set in stone, that choice is this big.
It's so true. I feel
Right.
that.
You have to,
right?
so instead, so maybe your intention is going to be, you know, to make this person like fall in love with me, but how much of that can I really play with? Not much, because you have to stay within what your associate, your resident, the original director has set. So
I feel like every time I tried to like make an acting choice, I always got a note.
I did
Like,
too.
oh.
I
But
did
then
too.
as a swing, I was able to like shadow, I used my swing time off to shadow all of the departments. And so then when I was sitting there with the lighting guy and with the sound person, and like I can see how like stressful their and specific their timing is for all of the cues. And then after that, I was like, I'm making 0 acting choices.
Yes, because it's bigger than you. This is the thing,
Yeah.
like, you know, every department, like, of course, the lighting department might want to be like, oh, I want to put like a ballyhoo in there and like, you know, close the iris and like make that like funky or whatever. And it's like, sorry, like, then, you know, the actor's going to be like, where's my light? Or like, sorry, we couldn't put that, you know, slider in the wing because you changed the lighting cues. Like, it's so much bigger than you, and we are all pieces of that puzzle that need to come through. And especially, you've been a swing, I've been a cover. You can't just go in there and just, you know, I mean, I have been fortunate in some covering situations where they've given me a lot of leeway, and I've been like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And usually that's because you are so different from the actual role that you can't make the same choices. Otherwise, that wouldn't be an authentic representation of the role coming from you as the actor. But yeah, it is much more challenging, but then you get the financial ability to live.
It's
You know
so
what I
interesting.
mean?
It's such
So
a
it's like,
trade-off, right?
it is a trade-off. And I mean, and I think we're also speaking on behalf of a level. Obviously, if you make it, you know, big time, I am sure, you know, that you would be able to have extreme creative choice.
Actually, I
Mhm.
disagree. I have
Okay.
thought so
Okay.
deeply on this, and I have
Yes.
read, like, for example, Matthew McConaughey talks about this in his book Greenlights.
I
And
love that book.
also,
Oh my
I'm gonna
gosh, I love
quote
him.
you read it?
Of course I've read it. Of course I
I
have.
love that book.
I I love that book, and I love him because he stepped out of his casting bracket, took a massive
Yes.
risk, and went, this is the work, this is the craft, this is the art I believe in and want to do. And totally fell out of that stereotype of what he was playing and took so many risks, and it paid off. So yeah. And the work he's doing now is just completely the direction I'd love to go in. I think he's paired, you know, this coaching side of life and acting. Don't you reckon?
Yeah.
So Matthew, if you're seeing this,
Matthew McConaughey. So the thing that I was gonna say is, so yeah, Matthew McConaughey's Greenlights talks about this, and also Tariq Frimpong organized a workshop for us semi-finalists for the AOC collective, like way back in COVID times, with this lady called Monica Shepherd, who has this organization called Creative Plus, which is all about teaching creatives how to manage their finances, I believe. I hope I haven't like said that wrong, but she said this amazing analogy about workhorses and unicorns. And she's like, in your career as a creative, you're going to have two types of jobs. You're going to have workhorse jobs and unicorn jobs. The workhorse jobs are the ones that aren't super creatively inspiring, but they're the ones that are constant and pay the bills. And then the unicorn jobs are like sexy, rare, glamorous, and you might not even get paid for them sometimes, but they're the ones that really spark the creative flame. And she said the lie is that you can live your life off of unicorn jobs. But actually, that's just a facade that a lot of creatives put out there to make it look like they're constantly working big jobs, when actually that's not the case. What happens is, even as you climb up the creative ladder, even in the heights of Hollywood, they still have their workhorse jobs. They have a skincare line. George Clooney does his Nespresso ads. Matthew McConaughey was doing multi-million-dollar rom-coms that he hated.
Yes.
Those are their workhorse. So your workhorse and your unicorn jobs will always like elevate as you elevate your career, but they'll take different forms. But the lie is that you can get rid of the workhorse, and you can't. You can't. You just have to love it as much and upgrade it as you go. So because creativity doesn't work as a constant. That's what she was saying. Creativity, like you can't always be in your creative energy. And this is where my idea of like having seasons of creativity come in. Like I always think of it as like harvesting time, when I'm the most ripe in creativity in my spring and summer. But then I expend creative energy and I create painting, or I create a choreography, and then I'm like flat and I just don't want to talk to anyone for a couple days, and I need to recharge and receive input and absorb and sit in nature and just be in my yin, and then I build it all back up to then put it out in a spurt again. So it's like short sprints of creativity. So she's like, you can't actually sustain yourself off of unicorns all the time, because what happens is then eventually those unicorns will become a workhorse, which is exactly what happened to me when I went on tour.
Yes. Haven't we all been there? Like it's so funny. And I think that's really beautiful. So many things have come to my brain. In that I was like, pinning moments. But just on that, I started as a tree. Like, I'm going to put this into perspective for a moment. My first job, I'm not kidding, but I was like a contemporary dancer dressed in a bark tard with leaves stuck on me as a tree. Like, can we just, no, this is the truth. Yeah, I've done some great things, but we got to just take a moment of grounding. You know what I mean? Like, this is the thing, like, but that at the time was my unicorn. I was like, I'm a tree. I'm a contemporary tree. You know what I mean? But like now I go, yeah, you know what? Solid like 15 years have like passed from that moment. Mightn't return back to the tree. Grateful for it. But yeah, you know, but yes, you do up level, right? That's a workhorse for me now. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So that is a kind of funny thing to reflect back on. But what I was gonna say, because I did a project though. Like, so when I did Elvis, that was one of the biggest unicorns for me. The reason being, when I was standing there with Austin Butler and Baz Luhrmann directing me.
Yeah, sorry.
He just said, improvise, go for it. And obviously I went, and I just went, okay. And Austin and I, for that moment in time, riffed off each other. So what was arranged and what ended up on film was not really choreographed, was not set, was not really directed. And that was the pinnacle of creativity for me and the unicorn. But guess what? That was Elvis, the movie. So of course I got paid. So here's my challenge to that. It can happen, right? Like, and I'm not saying that these things happen all the time, but they can happen. So are we actually limiting our mindsets? And I'm not trying to steep us out of reality here. I'm not. Because it's good to have a practical, solid conversation. Because yes, you've got to be content with the workhorse jobs because they are what you need. But don't discount the fact that, you know, that could happen. I felt like I needed to say that because I've had a couple of unicorn jobs. One was, as I said, the profit share and, you know, yada, yada.
Yeah. No, but unicorns can be like really well paid or just like not paid at all. Like they can take all shapes and forms. But I think the definition of what she was saying as a unicorn is like something that's really creatively inspiring. Like it really satiates your creative spirit.
Yeah. And I have a dream, that I probably, like, I would love a commercial musical for me that is, you know, steeped in all this money, would be that creative, fulfilling thing. But I could be dreaming. I'm not sure.
Do you think, I mean, you've had much more commercial music theater experience than me. Do you think that at some point, because they are long contracts, at some point it does just become stale, like the unicorn does turn into a workhorse job?
You know, I found for me, after 200 performances, I struggle to keep it fresh. And I'm not gonna like that is, and I don't know why.
I'm about 100.
Are you?
100, I'm done.
And this is the reality. Like, I think honestly, if a casting director watches, they're like, "Oh, that's concerning." But here's the truth: you know, you have your parameter of the choices you can make. You know, you have your scene partner, and you're doing everything. You're trying everything. And I've found by 200, I'm like, whoa, I'm out of options. Only because I'm like, if I could break the boundaries, whew, world's your oyster. And sometimes what helps is actually if you are on tour, because you've got, you know, a different set, you've got a different range of people, you've actually got a different demographic of people. So you get different feedback, different energy. So there is a natural change in that, which keeps it fresh, which can be really good, right? Like I know when I did Singing in the Rain to Australian audiences, but then I went to Japan, totally different show. So that's amazing and that's helpful actually. But yeah, I don't want to ever say that your performance will go stale because, you know, that would be doing the audience, the paying audience, such a disservice. You know what I mean? If I allowed myself to walk out on that stage and was like thinking of my dinner, you know, during my scene, I would feel like I would be not serving my audience because that's my job. But I don't know. I think what's helped me is even like, I think a lot of the time we push down what our feelings are or what our day is to, you know, bring the character on stage. But I actually think it can inform it. I found that to be helpful and to keep it fresh. Like, because sometimes, like, I've played a lot of comedy roles in my life, and sometimes I'm having a real bad day, right? And, you know, you try to push it aside, be professional at work. So sometimes I'll have a little bit of more of a dark humor edge to it. Do you know what I mean? More of a cynical take on the comedy, right? To help me get through it, you know, or if I'm right? It just helps.
I think that's what creativity is. It's like alchemizing your pain into power. Like there's this conversion thing, internal conversion thing that happens when you're in the act of creation. It's like taking something that happened to you and then turning it into a beautiful work of art. And so I think that when you have a performance that night and something has transpired during the day and your mind is elsewhere, the best thing to do is take that elsewhere-ness, take that emotion in your body and like convert that sadness into humor.
Yes, like use it. And like not bringing it to work. That's not what we're talking about, but we're saying use that emotion. Like, it can be quite powerful. Because on, the flip side, you could be feeling flatline, monotone, and not feeling anything to give. So sometimes it can be helpful and keep it fresh, but yeah, it's a tough one, because not a lot of jobs out there, a lot of other jobs, you go to the same workplace, it's the same job, but there's a different client, there's a different problem, there's, you know what I mean? And even working in film and TV, the script is going to change. It's going to be a different day, but live theatre, of course, it's live, it's the same thing, but it's hard to keep that material fresh, because that doesn't change. And that's the job side of it, I think. Right? Because that's the job side of it. I don't really think anyone's going to say, I mean, sure, you can grow into the character and everything, but I don't know. I'm talking after 100, 200 performances, not like a week's worth. Right.
What's the longest stretch of playing the same character, the same track that you've ever done? And at what point in that stretch did you start to feel stale?
Yeah. So I think because I started professionally working around 17, and I'm only 32, and I've done the 13, 15 shows or whatever. So I haven't done long stretches, and I love that, because you know what I mean? So think about
That's the key. Don't do the long stretches.
Well, I personally, I thrive off, change, and I like to keep things fresh. And I find I'm a better actor doing things like that. Which doesn't give me the stability, which a lot of other people enjoy. Some people love doing 5 years.
I knew someone who did 8 years in the same exact role, and they loved it.
Hang on, the internet cut out. Oh my gosh, how many years?
Oh, 8 years in the same role, and they loved it.
and here we go.
Is not designed like this.
and great for them. If that's
so
them,
good for them.
Amazing. Amazing. I'm not wired that way either.
No,
not wired that way. So the longest I've ever really done is, I think, around 16 months of, and as I said to you, after 200, which is probably around 6 months, you go, okay, I'm really settled into the role. I know what I'm doing, and this is my job now. But I don't know, I think a really beautiful period of time for me, I think, is a 6-month run with the 2.5, a nice 6-week rehearsal period, nice press night, nice 6-month run. That to me is gorgeous.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. Yes, I've really sunk into the role. I've gotten what I need to do out of it. I've given what I can, and it feels solid. It feels like a good amount of time. But I mean, that's just, when's that going to happen? But you don't know.
But it's kind of unintentionally happening right now, is it not?
I mean, yeah, that's not good. What's happening in the current climate at all. And that's scary. And this is the thing, you sign up to the job that's more secure. Is anything in life secure?
No, it's not. Security is an illusion.
Security
is a big fat illusion.
It is. Nothing is secure in this life. It's so funny. We try to choose the more secure path, which usually in return makes us more unhappy. Right? That's just kind of how it goes. I won't say which jobs these are, but I remember I was offered 2 jobs at one point, and I took the secure one and not the creative one. And I don't have any regrets in my life, but it is a sliding doors moment. And you wonder, because I reflect on my time on the job that I took that was quote unquote secure, but I got ill, I got injured. My body didn't
rejected
yes, my body didn't respond well to the job. And so I learned a lot from that. So things that seem secure on paper, does your soul find it secure? And I'm glad I went through that, because I learned. And that's what we have to do in life, right? That's why I say no regrets, because you have to go through that experience in order to not repeat it. Or if you do, sure, learn it again. Right?
Yeah.
But I needed to go through that to be like, oh, that job was secure on paper, but not secure for my soul. And so, yeah, I think there's something to note in that.
So you're talking about
Yeah,
like internal security versus external security.
precisely.
Yeah, I
And
think this
this
is
sorry, this just
you
boils
go.
down to what we've always spoken about, which is when we first started coaching, right?
Exactly.
I think one of the first things I said to you, because you were in this commercial, yada, yada, living your best life, but you're actually internally not living your best life, right? Let's be real about that for a second.
Yeah.
And I just remember first saying to you, okay, what's your true north then? Like, you know, what is your soul screaming for? You know, something that you'd put up on a pedestal, which is what you want, and you achieve it and you're actually not happy. Like, right? It's just this whole, that's that whole thing.
That I took your advice and ran with it. And I'm so on this path now where I'm so internally guided, where it's to the point where, like, externally, none of the things that I'm actually tangibly doing makes sense. Like, it doesn't make sense on paper
Sure.
at all,
Yeah.
but I just know the direction and I trust in it so much. It
Yeah.
doesn't even feel delusional now because I think that I'm beyond the delusional point and I feel so grounded in it that I'm like, I would rather just be in this like constantly inspired, like internally fulfilled space than have the external things happen. But I know that they will happen at the right time in a way that's like so unique that I could not have planned or concocted up for myself.
Mm.
And that's the thing, right?
And I love you for that. And that's why I said at the beginning, like, I remember the second I started coaching, I was like, oof, this woman's going to just change the world. Because, you know, I would say something, you just applied it. Do you know what I mean? It was just like a no-brainer, right? It was just like, poof. Like at the end of the day, gosh, it was just me enabling, accessing it within you. Do you get what I mean? It was just that. You just needed to be unlocked, if you get what I mean. It was all you, right?
Oh,
All
thank
you.
you.
No, but it is. It's just, you know, realigning you, right, to find that truth. And the fact that you trust that so much is so inspiring to me. Because I mean, sure, I in my life have my own courageous moves and do things that people go, whoa, what are you doing? Um, but I still have goals that I think relate maybe other people in the industry have. Do you get what I mean? Like they're still there for me. And I'm
Yeah.
still negotiating in my, not my head, in my soul, what's my truth? What does Rachael want to achieve? And what does the industry, society tell me I need to achieve to validate my position in the industry? Right? I'm still navigating where that is for me. And that's just
Yeah.
because I'm not perfect and I'm on my own journey. But one thing I will do is when I go for something and something's presented to me, I will sit with that and go, wait, is this a, what did you call it, a workhorse? Is this a unicorn? Is this a chapter on my journey? Because here's just something I would like to say in this. You've got to go for what you want and that unicorn and everything like that. But sometimes it's like, most of the time it's like this, and you need to go through certain doors in order to get to the next one. So sometimes, you know, you're heading towards whatever that goal is, but then this other thing will present itself and you're like, well, I didn't want that. But if you tune into yourself, you're like, but for some reason I got to do it. And I don't know why, but I got to go through this door to get to that door. Right. So yeah, I think there's something in that. There is definitely something in that. You got to trust that guidance system, just like you are, right? Everyone is different in that. And most of the time it doesn't make sense. Most of the time.
Yeah, you're right. Because I think that the trajectory of creativity isn't linear, it's non-linear. You know, if you want to become an engineer, damn well, you better get qualified before climbing up a very strict corporate kind of hierarchy, or sorry, industry hierarchy ladder But for us, it just doesn't work that way. And I think that the biggest thing that you taught me was I think that I was very in my masculine energy when it came to this idea of goal setting or manifestation or getting where I want to be. I would hustle, I would work super
Yeah.
hard, I would network, I would be super strategic, I would do all the right things on paper. Yet the thing that I wanted, oh, actually, up until that point, that's how I got everything that I wanted. But then I came up to this like block where all of a sudden that masculine way of manifesting, that hustle, that drive was like it was depleting me, and I was running up against a wall. It stopped working for me. And that's where you came in and you taught me the feminine part of this manifestation thing, where you actually have to plant the seed, which I was very good at doing. And then you got to let it go. You just got to trust.
Attachment. I think this is what and a lot of people do this actually, so we can touch on this. Like they'll go, and they'll hustle. And that energy is a desperate energy. It's not attractive. It's attaching, and you need to plant it, you need to believe in it, and you really do need to let it go. And if it's meant for you, it won't pass you by. It's an unattached energy, because then you allow it to come to you. Otherwise, you scare it away. It's like a person you like. Right? It really is in that, and that takes a lot of trust to let it go.
You gotta flirt with the universe a little.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That can be the title, is Flirting with the Universe.
Yeah. Just drop the
I
handkerchief,
love it.
wink, and then walk away. And then hopefully that job comes to you instead of you chasing the job.
Yes. Flirt with the universe, flirt with that job. They want you, right?
Yeah.
I love that. That should be like a whole other segment.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just I want to touch on that.
It's so interesting. I want to ask you on that. Do you believe that obviously we're beings that are very aligned in our feminine, and so this kind of technique that we seem to both be sitting in is we stand in our power, we trust, we stay in our intuition, and we remain open to receiving and kind of magnetically pulling things in. So we pull the opportunity in, like the opportunity comes to us, whereas the other way around, which would be the more yang masculine dominant version, which is where you go get the opportunity. Do you think that the way there's one way, or do you think is it different for everyone? Do you think that everyone is on this nonsensical feminine path of like at some point you just need to trust, or do you think it's different for different energies?
I believe that we all have a balance of masculine and feminine qualities, and that within ourself that comes out at different moments in time. And I really do believe, like, yes, you need to let it come to you, but that doesn't mean you have no action. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a balance. You really have to have that you want to call it like masculine energy. I think you have to take the aligned action though. So I think this is the difference. Hustling is not aligned action. That's going for anything and anyone, and I'm going to push for, and you're just focusing your energy and expelling your energy into things that don't matter, that you don't want, that aren't going to serve you. You're running into, and I remember I spoke to you, you were like, I've messaged this person, I've, all this. And I was like, great, but they're not going to receive that message because they're not aligned with you. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're just going to be met with nothing. And you were met with nothing because it wasn't aligned. And the second we channeled your energy into aligned action, oh my God, they responded to you because they were aligned with your energy. You were met with the right thing, but you weren't working hard. You just worked smarter, right? You were just aligning that. So you were still doing action. You were still using that masculine energy, but just in a more aligned way. So don't discredit using that action But then you do that aligned action, then you step away. You see what I mean? And then that's the feminine coming in and the trust, right? So, but yes, some people are wired more one way or the other, but I do believe there's pros and cons to it. You can't just go, all right, universe, do your thing. They'll give you something. But if you haven't aligned your action, you won't get what you want. Right? You'll get something that
I feel that I used to be very strategic, and again, it worked for me up until a certain point, and now I just feel like there is zero strategy. Like even with my recent rise in social media, I have so many people and friends, it's so hard. Like I have tried social media time and time again, through like Mob Society, through my podcast and lockdown. Like it is so hard to like go viral or to grow on social media, especially now when it's so saturated, and it's just happening so organically. And so many people are asking how the heck, like what I'm doing, what's your social media strategy? I'm like, there is no strategy. There is zero strategy. It's all just alignment. And I think that people are picking up on that energy, and that's it. Like there's zero strategy. And so I don't know, I feel like, is there a place for strategy, or is alignment the strategy? Just in life in general, like career, life, the arts,
okay. Is
everything.
there a place for strategy, or is alignment the strategy? I think alignment is the strategy. However, in life, sometimes you're not going to come across aligned people, or that are completely tuned in. So sometimes in life, you need to use a bit of strategy to kind of get them aligned and onto the same page. Do you get what I mean by that? Because if we all were like us, and I'm not saying that we're God, not at all. But if we were all aligned and all, you know what I mean? Well, that would be easy. Just slip into that vibration and that frequency and whoop, we're aligned and easy. But in life, in society, we're going to come across many different frequencies, many low vibrational people. And unfortunately in life, we don't live on a rock meditating in a beautiful land. Although some of us but you know what I mean? You can do that, and some of us do. But what I'm trying to say though is, even in your day-to-day life, you're gonna have to come across, okay, I'm gonna really simplify it. You want to go get a coffee at your local barista. He's having a bad day and you're in a very low frequency, but guess what? You still need that coffee. Do you know what I mean? Right? Yeah. Like, and so you're gonna have to do a little bit of strategy. That might be like, hey, how you going? How's your day? And just, realign him in a frequency so he can make you that great coffee and you can move on to the rest of your day. Do you get what I mean? So sometimes you do need to use a bit of strategy to get someone aligned, and then there. Otherwise, it can just be aligned. Does that make sense? And obviously, I'm using a coffee example because it's right, but we're talking in career and we're talking much bigger things in life. But I would love to say it's just alignment, but
time and place.
Time and place.
I think there are a lot of people, how do I say this in like, okay, there are a lot of people I have met within the arts industries as a performer that I find are very lost, probably very misaligned. Externally, they look very creative, but internally, they're not. Like, I just see a lot of people in our industry get caught into this trap of I'm not good enough. And I think that it's because the messaging is coming from everywhere. And a lot of our industry, let's face it, is education. So there's all these institutions that are trying to sell you another course, another course, another course, like keep going class, keep training. And it's like at some point, like there are some people that, there was this girl, she was just freshly 18. She'd come out of a full-time dance institution. And I'm like, you need to go work, you're ready. She was
Yeah.
mature, she was grounded in herself. And then that institution's just selling her like more courses upon courses, telling basically message like the messaging around her. I mean, she was a child prodigy, she was amazing, but the messaging around her was, you are not prepared enough for the adult industry, you're not good enough, you need to focus on this technique and that technique and this technique. And so she was completely manipulated by the powers that be and just kept training and kept training and kept training. I'm like, when are you going to actually work? Because you're ready. And I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of, I'm going around in circles now, but there's this messaging that no matter how much you train, you need more training and you spend more money for that training. You're just never going to be good enough to like work. And the fact that there's a supply and demand issue where there's more performers than there are actually like financially viable jobs. So they can get confused thinking I didn't land the job because I'm not good enough, not because not the reality is that they're actually more than good enough. It's just that there aren't enough jobs. So it's like, how do you get people out of that cycle?
Yeah. Look, and this, I coach a lot of people in this because, look, the crux of it is it's an oversaturated injury. It's an oversaturated industry. And you, it's so easy to take it personally, but most of the time you don't fit into the jigsaw, right? You're too tall. Whatever the reason is, it really can come down to that. So to take the personal element away, but it's hard. You know why? Because you're the product. We're not selling a yogurt. Do you know what I mean? We're selling you. We're commenting on you as a product, and that is hard, but when you walk into that audition, you are a brand, you are a product, you have to strip away yourself from it, which is super, super, super difficult. That's where our industry is really hard. But yes, the problem is it comes down to that fundamental belief that you don't feel enough. Everyone kind of has that belief. Like, I don't really meet a lot of people when you go down my why exercise, right? You know what I mean? Like, why am I feeling this way? Why? Oh, because I don't feel enough. Like, that's a massive limiting belief. I don't come across many people who don't really feel like they're enough. They don't feel like they belong. There's some really big fundamental limiting beliefs. And I think all of us at some point don't feel like we're enough. We're not worthy, right? So that'll be just striking that chord. And some of us have it more than others. Like, I'll put my hand up and say some of the times I don't feel enough situations. But the problem is that it's really hard for our industry because from a really young age, we're in competition with each other. We are criticized, but constructively criticized for how we look, for how we, are skilled. It's very different to be in a career where maybe, your work is criticized, but when it's your body, your being, it's a really different element. So you need to develop this understanding that you're a business, that you're a product, which sounds awful, but it helps you differentiate as to why you didn't get the job.
Do you feel as though the education that we have in Australia, whether it's classes, whether it's drama schools, full-time dance institutions, do you feel that they are actually uplifting people's creativity and self-worth or diminishing it?
I don't think I can speak on behalf of the Australian industry, but as I just spat, did you see that? Really attractive.
No,
go for it because I was so passionate about it. It's my Italian coming out at me. But go for it. But this is what you're going to face. Are you ready to face that? And I'm either going to say yes or no, right? Yeah. We're not going to sugarcoat it. You go, this is what you got. Are you ready to push past that? That's what I tell people, right? You can go for anything. You can be anything. You can be anyone. No limitations. I don't believe in them. But just so you know, you're living in a society, you're living in an industry that I put these limits on it.
That's a really nice way to put it.
Mm-hmm. Are you willing to blast those? Or are you not? Because it's going to take some guts, man. That's going to take a lot of work, a lot of stepping outside of the box. It's going to take some severe courage, and you're going to cop some backlash because you're going to meet, but this is out of the norm. This is not what they usually go for. I, again, not going to speak on behalf of exact jobs I've done, but I've walked into auditions with a very bold choice. And I've had 90% of the panel in stitches because it worked so well. And I had that 1% go, oh, can't have that. And I had to be willing to take that. Luckily, in that instance, I got the job. But do you get what I mean? Like, what I'm trying to say is it's a bit of a risk element. So that's what I say to people. If that.
I want to, okay, another different direction.
Mm-hmm.
I find this is like a little theory that I have about energy and theater. It's interesting for me because I find that theaters and studios can be very uninspiring and energetically dead because there's no actual like fresh energy circulation in the space.
Sure.
There's no plants, there's no access to natural light. Oftentimes the lighting is stark and that kind of clinical hospital lighting that is actually not good for our circadian rhythm. We're not seeing daylight from like 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. unless you actively make sure you step outside of the theater during, your break or between shows. And a lot of the time it's dark anyway. And I think that the only energy that's coming in are the actual people that you work with, this small cohort of people, your cast, that you see every single day, they themselves are depleted because they're tired. They're doing a 8-show week. They're working 6 days a week with 1 day off. They don't see their family. They're deprived from nature. And so they're not also being proactive in replenishing their energy. So when you get just all these depleted beings in a space, a dark, festering space like a theater, just becomes this like incestuous festering soup sometimes. And because there is no other energy to feed off besides each other. So then you're feeding off of depleted energies, and then it just becomes this yucky vibes. So I guess, do you have any advice for people in the theater world or people wanting to get in the theater world on how to replenish their energy, or how at least you like upkeep an 8-show week? Because I mean, what we do, we're athletes. Like I don't think people understand the level of devotion, dedication, discipline, physically, mentally, spiritually, you have to do to pull off an 8-show week, not call off, and do it for, because I don't fucks around with the bad work ethic. We're a team. We work together. You don't just call, like, you have your annual leave. We have amazing entitlements now. We have mental health awareness, but you don't just call off,
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you balance all of that together?
Hard. And, people that have worked with me, like, I'm the first person to say I become very introverted to conserve my energy. And because, I'm exhausted. We're all exhausted. Yeah, we do 8 shows a week, sometimes 9. And particularly if you're a cover or a swing, you're in 2 days a week, for rehearsals. So you're really exhausted. So you don't have that extra energy and capacity to give. Like you and I walk into a space and want to naturally inspire people, naturally give. But sometimes when you are so exhausted, especially maybe on like a double show Wednesday with that really big gap in between or something, you're like, I don't want to give my energy. And particularly when your job is to perform, you don't have much more to give because you've given all of that energy out to the audience. It's a give and take too. It's a lot of energy you're receiving back. It's exhausting. because you are in the giving industry, if you wish. So yeah, a lot of people that know me, I love my own space, and I kind of make it very apparent from the get-go that I will want to conserve my energy. I know before I perform, I like to really zone in. I usually like to meditate. I usually send up a little prayer to say, I mean, that could be a little side note story, but ever since the Paris attacks, which I was in the theater, which we've maybe never even spoken about. We can chat about that. That changed my life. That changed my life and perspective of everything. That got me into coaching. But ever since then, I actually send just a prayer to spirit to say thank you for allowing us to be here, and I make sure everyone's safe. And so I definitely have a practice before which centers my energy, which really helps me. I really like to stay outside of drama. I think there's a lot going on in the theater and whatnot, but I really try to just, steer clear. And I definitely get out in between shows. It was really hard on cats. You look like a cat. Sometimes like makeup and stuff, can really inhibit that. So if you're lucky enough to do a show where, you've only got really simple makeup on, you can just take your red lip off, head out of the theater, do it. If you literally look like a cat, find another way to escape, right? Put your earphones in, put a guided meditation in. I used to go literally on cats and go sleep in the gym, and put a meditation on and just zone out completely. You know what I mean? Dressed as a cat. Yes, 100%, like half human, half cat. But then on every other show, I actually remember when I performed a lot at the Arts Centre in Melbourne, and that whole phrase, stop and smell the roses. I took it literally. I was like, you're going to go, there's this gorgeous rose garden. And I used to, because I'm a big person on prepping my own food. And I used to go heat up my food in the microwave, take my pin curls out. I'm a person that wants to take all those out. Some people look really great with their scarves. I need to release my hair, right? I can't bear it, right? I need to feel freedom, need to feel normal. And I go sit in the rose garden. I go and smell every rose. And I did. I was that person. Don't care if anyone thought I was an idiot. I couldn't give a shit, because what that did is that grounded me into reality and nature. It got me back, because also too, if I was playing a role on stage, I was probably doing Chicago at the time, I was killing people, right? That's not me. Do you know what I mean? Or I was trying to be really sensual. I wanted to step out of that role, ground myself back into reality, ground myself into who Rachael is, put my feet on the grass, smell the roses, eat some wholesome food, and connect back in. That really did wonders for my mental state. And call someone that I love, call someone that gets me, not related to that. I think having that element of connecting to you, who your people are, and sure, you can do what I do, literally go put my feet in the grass, but other people will have their other ways of grounding. But I'm an introvert, so I need that. But other people might need that social interaction and go out but I can't be around the same people 24/7. I won't become the best version of myself. That's just not who I am. And that's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just what it is. I just that's what it is. But I would recommend that, really identifying what sustains you and what grounds you. For me, as I just said, I send that prayer. I cook my own wholesome food so I feel fueled. I go find nature. And even if, I've performed in the winter of the UK, but guess what? I still found a little canal with some water, sit there in my boots and my beanie, freezing my ass off. I would sit there and I would connect. Mightn't have been as comfortable, and it mightn't have only lasted 10 minutes, but I still did it, because that grounded me back into reality. And I'll do something playful as well. When it was autumn, I go kick the leaves like a child, you know what I mean? Just to kind of feel the energy and the play back into my bones. I think you talk about stale energy in a theater, bring play back into it. It can get really serious, but aren't we just playing make believe? Can we take a moment? Just take a moment. We might save a life one day. We really might, we might say something that transports someone's life out there in the audience, and we might do that. But the crux of it is that we're playing make-believe. I don't really like to class myself as an entertainer. I find my purpose for art is more than that. It is much more than that. But, you know, we're playing make-believe.
This was going to be... This is going to be my next question, is that do you believe there is difference between performers and artists?
Yes, of course. I think
what's the difference?
What's the difference? I would like to hope I'm an artist. and I actually do. I feel like I have proof from people that have spoken to me who I really respect as fellow artists. We care about the craft. We care about the story that's being told, and we do it for the audience. So I think there are three major factors, because otherwise you do it for the validation and you do it for the ego, which a lot of, it's nice. It's very nice getting an applause. Of course, not going to deny that. I love that. It's such an adrenaline rush and an endorphin, and you feel validated, you feel great. But I don't go out on the stage every night just to get applauded, because if I did, and the audience didn't applaud, I'd lose all the sense of self-esteem. And like, it's so funny actually, and I'm not going to mention any names again, but a lot of people would come up and say to me, oh, the audience was crap tonight, or they're not responding to the jokes or whatever. And I'm like, and like, that's their choice. That's their choice how they respond. They might be loving it, but they might have a cold, or, they might have something going on in their life, or do you know what I mean? Like, you can't base your performance off what the audience is giving you. It's hard in comedy. Believe me, I know. But you just got to deliver. And people would be stumped when I wouldn't give them that back. Right?
Yeah.
So it's what makes you an artist is giving the performance to them. You give everything, and how they take it and treat it and respond to it is their journey. But you just got to play your part.
Right. Whereas a performer and entertainer, you believe, feeds off the audience more?
We still both feed off the audience, but they need it in order to feel validated and give it back.
It's so interesting, because I used to always think that maybe potentially the idea of being a performer and entertainer is like a bad thing or lesser than the artists are. Which is a fair presumption, until I met this one person that I worked with who is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
He's such a great guy. And we're friends to this day, but he actively says that he doesn't consider himself an artist and doesn't want to be labeled as an artist, that he believes he's an entertainer. Because for him, he's like, it's not that deep for me, Aadhya. I just want to make people laugh. There's nothing bigger in terms of satisfaction than seeing people smile.
Okay.
That's it.
And I love this. We're very deep people, one. Okay, so our conversation is always going to go deep. But I think our definition of artist, what I'm saying, he is making it about him. No. He is making it about the audience, because he wants people to laugh. So he's still, do you see what I mean? So it's not like if he said, oh, it's about me, and, it's about me making people laugh. That's performer. But if it's about making the audience laugh and giving them the joy, giving them that, do you see what I mean? I think that's the art in it.
Giving
it's the
versus
art of making, yes, it's the art of making people laugh, which is beautiful. Right?
Yeah,
but if it's about you and your ego, it's like, well, why didn't people laugh at me? Like, I don't know. There's a different energy about it. That's how I would define it. Because also too, an artist feels more collaborative, and you can still perform, but it's a giving and receiving act. Whereas a performer, you're just, do you know what I mean? It's a different energy.
Yeah.
You're not I see performing as an invitation. Come with me into this world and I'm going to show you this. I'm going to teach you this. I want you to explore this with me. Come on the journey. Whereas if I'm just going to go, this is me, it's like, woo. And it ties exactly back into that energy, that feminine energy. Unattached, letting it come, giving the invitation of an acting choice and letting you come on the journey with me.
I love that.
See the difference in energy and which one is more appealing? More
Yeah,
attractive?
I definitely think that there are people that perform as though they're screaming at you.
Yeah. And that's an insecurity thing, right? Well, that's what I think. Again, this is all just completely what I believe, but I feel like it's like when you see someone sing a song and it's all about the high notes and the riffs. Amazing. Good on you. But I feel thing because you've made it about, I need to hit this note or make this riff because that's, you know what I mean? That's what is going to make me look better or feel validated. Do you get what I mean? But if you actually instead are reaching a note because it has such an emotional climax, and that's when it comes out, and maybe because you're so emotional that it riffs down in an emotional unravel, that's an invitation to the story. It informs it.
One is manufactured whilst the other is substantiated from your actual energy.
And one's coming from an insecure place of, I think this is what's going to make me enough.
Yeah.
The other one is, I'm enough, or maybe I'm not enough, but I'm going to give you my story and I want you to, just go on this ride with me.
So interesting. I was going to ask, do you think that all performers or all artists come into their art through the need to feel validated, seen, or heard?
I don't think all of them,
Okay.
but I think a lot of us, I did.
I did as well.
Totally did. I
Yeah.
mean, I think a lot of people say to me, oh my gosh, you must have been such a confident little miss. And I was like, no, I was so shy. I was put in the learning support program at school because I wouldn't speak up. I mean, they
Wow.
didn't know what to do with me. But then I got on stage and I was just this crazy performer. And my parents were like, what's going on? Right? Where, right? And so I felt validated on stage. I felt alive. And so of course that gave me the confidence. And then I made a choice in life just to be like, hang on a second. I need to bring this into my own reality. And that was me growing up and going on my own journey. But I think a lot of us start there. A lot of us start there because maybe it does span from something deeper where they weren't validated in their personal life. And so getting that round of applause on stage gave them that, which is a beautiful thing. But the only issue in that is when it becomes the thing that validates you and you don't have that worth in your own life.
It's so interesting because I went on this journey of, obviously, I think that was one of the things that pulled me into art. Not that it was the whole picture, but I definitely stepped into art with the chip on my shoulder, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. But I worked through it to the point where I actually would step out on stage and not feel like anything, almost like just pure non-detachment, just like, yeah, this is for the audience, whatever they want to take is whatever they take, but I get zero contentment from feeling seen because I actually no longer have a need to be seen. If that makes sense. And that's such a weird, like such a strange sensation when you've grown up being addicted to the adrenaline high of stepping out on stage. And then all of a sudden to like lose that is like a very interesting thing.
And I think this is where maybe your growth has surpassed mine. I still do feel adrenaline when I go on the stage. And a part of it too, though, is nerves. And I personally love, though, that I still feel nerves, because it still means to me that it means something. You know what I mean? Because I think there's a difference between being unattached to the outcome and being really just detached. Do you get what I mean? To anything and not caring. I think there's a really big difference in that. And so, yeah, I think, do you get where I'm coming from there?
Yeah, I do. I definitely think that in that period, I probably was in a state of like, I just don't care. But it's
Mm,
interesting now. I don't know actually if it would have changed from that point,
mm,
potentially. I'm not sure, but I have noticed that my like perception of myself has changed in that um I no longer like I don't think I perceive myself anymore. It's really strange. I'm still
mm.
not, I don't have the words to fully describe and process this phenomena, but have, I don't know how to explain it, but like if I'm
You know
dancing,
what? You've just outgrown it. Like,
you
right?
reckon?
Like, you just, yeah, like you have just up
I'm just so
leveled.
in it. I feel like I'm just so in whatever I'm doing, whether it's like I'm painting or whether I'm dancing or whether I'm having a conversation with someone that I just don't. Like I'm so in it that like no one else's opinion of it matters.
Wow. That's a level of presence. Um, yeah, that's a level of presence which is to be commended. Uh, but I really do just think, because I know what you're talking about. Do you get what I mean? And I think you've just outgrown it and you're just
Oh,
flying high on a different
thank
level. I really do.
thank you.
Yeah, that's how without saying too much, I think that's what that is. Um, yeah, but yeah, there's definitely a difference, I think, between not caring and still having that fire. But I think it's a navigational point of what matters to you. I mean, as
Mm,
well, like it's an indicator, right? If
that's
something
it.
it's just an indicator. Um, yeah, we just listen to that. That'll determine your true north,
It's
right?
true. It's true.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. So interesting.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
why you went in a different direction.
I think so. I think also performing, I think, can be very therapeutic. Like even just acting, I
Mm.
always recommend for non-artists to go take acting classes just just for some therapy because I think it's that act of practicing being seen and reflected through other people and other people's stories. So therapeutic.
Meisner technique is really interesting for that, because you literally you dish it out and you get a straight back. And so it is
Mm,
a mirror. I find that really therapeutic.
mm,
So yeah, if we're going to talk in terms of just any being wanting to learn communication and expression, I think that's a hell of a start. But yes, I think acting teaches you so much, and it makes you deep dive into your own psychology and other people's psychology. Like, actors are phenomenal because we're so self-aware. Hence why we have that extra level of sensitivity and empathy, because we just know more. We study people to be people, right? And we have to access it within ourselves. And I don't want to say acting is therapy, but damn, you really have to sort through a
can
lot of
be.
stuff within yourself to access different emotions. And it's quite interesting. And I think it's I took a lot of, yeah, I when I coach a lot when it comes to the acting side of things, it can be really scary to delve into some of those emotions and to, recalling any instances which bring up certain emotions or traumas that you haven't dealt with. So I think it can be a very scary place. But once you have actually sorted, and gone through that trauma, really gotten tools and really, really worked through that professionally and healthily, the stuff you can access is phenomenal. But I think you have to do it in a very healthy way. And I personally think you need to work through trauma, which everybody has. you need to work with it professionally first before you actually try to use it in an acting sense. Because if you're trying to use an event, a traumatic event, to access emotion 8 shows a week, that is just going to be ripping open a wound 8 shows a week, which is not sustainable. You need to, we all have memories, but you need to have recovered from that and just be able to dip in and dip out, reground yourself into de-roll 100%. I'm like an advocate for that, because I think it can be, personally, I think you need to go find yourself again.
Have you ever pulled from a certain emotion or a memory or an experience so much so that you accidentally then heal it? I've done this where there was this one memory that would make me cry on cue, and I used it all the time for every time that I needed it, until one day it just stopped working. And I was I think I've healed from this, damn it.
That's hysterical. Can I be honest with you? I haven't, because I actually remember in an acting class once, I was taught, emotional recall and whatever. And I remember I was such a kid that was, oh my gosh, I was just always into mental health and everything. And I was just I went to the teacher, I was like, whoa. I was like, we need to work on, trauma first and identifying things. So I didn't allow myself actually to be a good actor in that moment. I went into I just went into I don't know, just maybe it's called safeguarding or something, but I was more interested in the mental health of the performer. And then, so I never let myself do that until a few years later down the track. And that's when I really stepped into my acting. And then, yes, I delved into emotions, but I'd made sure I'd processed them. So I made sure I processed the trauma, because I don't think it's healthy. Sure, you can give a great performance. Sure, you'll win an award, but will you survive it? Will your art be causing, trauma in your actual life? I don't know. I think there's a way that you can still access it and go deep without, it informing your life. So no, I haven't really done that, because I haven't allowed myself. I've made sure I've processed trauma first, but I've still been able to access some great stuff, and life helps that, right? Going through life. That's why there's no regrets, right? Because it's got material to use.
Being an artist means that every single good and bad thing that happens in your life can be turned into creative ammunition. So you just store it in an inventory, in a stockpile, and then pull it out whenever you need, now or in the future. And I just think that I feel kind of almost sorry for people who aren't artists, because what do they do with their pain? What do you mean you just deal with it, but you don't turn it into beauty? I think everyone can, and everyone should. And I think that's why the books The Artist's Way, and encouraging people to just pick up a little watercolor mini travel set, which I've been trying to do online, to encourage people to just start to convert their emotions out into something tangible. But for people who don't do that, I actually don't know how they function, because I've never not done that. So not that I'm, ripping them apart by saying this. I'm just genuinely curious. How do they survive their emotions if they don't create art? I'm so confused.
I think creativity is different for everyone. We are literally artists, right? Yeah. So, and I know you do visual, I do visual art as well, but no one will see it, right? I'll dabble in things, but it's an expression. Creativity is an expression. And you got to remember that's different for everyone. Maybe someone takes it out in the kitchen. You know what I mean? Maybe someone creates a cake, a meal, maybe some people works in their garden and creates a beautiful flower bed. Do you see what I mean?
Sport
for maybe it's in the gym. I know a lot of it could be just literally pumping iron to try to release that, but maybe someone will create an exercise routine, or even develop their way, across a machine. on a reformer or something like that, that is creative. Like, so I think there is different ways to channel it. And I think, you know, it might mean a watercolor palette to everyone. That might be terrifying. But I think maybe it's getting lost in a video game for someone. I don't know, because maybe that's creative. Like, and I'm talking, I wouldn't know that world at all. But I think they can. I think it's looking at creativity and expression and processing another way. Honestly, you know, I do a lot of my processing on the beach. I'll walk out and speak to the oceans. Like, oh, like the waves that are crashing. I see that as creativity. They're speaking back to me, you know, like inhaling as the tiger's in, like exhaling and processing creativity. Like I see words, I see songs. I hear my feet crunching on the sand and I hear them splashing in the water and I'll make up a song, you know, or something like that. So that is processing. That is creativity. So do you see what I mean? I think it has so many different forms. It can look so different to so many people.
Creativity is limitless, and I think
Yes.
that life in itself is the ultimate creative act. You know,
And imagination as well. You know, like sometimes people don't have the ability to be physically creative. Sometimes people are in a coma, but they have an imagination. You know what I mean? Like that is creativity. You can visualize things, right? So I think that word is limitless.
It's an internal thing, isn't it? It's like the external thing is what we call art, but creativity is the mechanism behind it.
Oh my gosh, creativity lives in everything. Creativity lives in the most structured scientific things. Everything is born out of creation, creativity, right? Everything's created. Birth. We were born out of creativity, creation, right? And imagining something that then we created and we did it. So it's just accessing that.
So true. So true. I love that. I love that. That's probably a great note to sum this up on. Oh, wait, one last question, I think.
Okay.
We should each zoom back to our past selves that were starting our creative journeys. So for me, I would say that was when I was 18. I don't know if you want to give it an age, but just think about what advice, if you could actually speak to her right now, like what advice would you say?
I tell her to breathe. And I know that sounds so simple, but I mean, I started this journey when I was 3 3/4 or something, and I was on the stage at 6, and I didn't breathe. I didn't take in the moment. I didn't be. And so I didn't have any creativity, right? I just was a robot and I put so much pressure on myself. I had panic attacks, which was so uncreative, had no why, had none of the things we've spoken about today. And so, yes, as I said, no regrets. So all that informed who I am today, and hence why I'm such an advocate of wellness and health and being and presence and femininity and all of that, because it's so easy to go down the competitive masculine mindset. But breathe, be gentle with yourself, right? That's what I would say to my younger self, because that's what she needed. She put all the pressure on herself.
I love that.
That's very personal, I'd say, on my journey.
I think for me, I would say so many things I would like to say, but I think for me at 18, I was actually in this, like this state that I'm in now, I was in it, but then I entered into the industry in it, assuming that other people had something that I couldn't gain from within. So I would tell myself, you don't want the box, trust me. You don't want the box. Don't try to fit into it. And there's nothing that these other people can tell you that's gonna like blow your mind. Like you're already in it, stay in it and trust that, and stop giving your power away to these people who have significantly perhaps larger resumes than you. But that actually doesn't mean anything if creativity is actually what you want.
Sure.
So I think I would tell her that. So I just wish I didn't. Waste is such a horrible word in hindsight, but I wish I didn't waste so much time trying to confine myself into the box.
But can I speak on behalf of the person who coached you in that moment?
Okay.
You needed to go through that to develop into who you are today. Because without that experience, and I know that's hard to hear because you see it as a waste of time, but the lady, the woman, the goddess you have grown into is informed because of that. Your being now knows that, has those boundaries, has that knowingness, has that wisdom. And without that experience, you will have said to me, what if? I just don't know. But you needed to know. You needed to go in there. You needed to test and trial it. And you needed to get out of there. I can promise you that. I just know in my heart, because I know you and I love you. And I know you might have seen it as a waste of time, but my God, you grew. I can promise you, I knew you then. The words you were saying, the energy you were giving, it was not the same. And who you've grown into now, you should be so proud of. But without that, you wouldn't be standing here today where you are.
That's so true.
Really.
Thanks. I really appreciate that.
Of course.
Oh, I appreciate you in this conversation. This is so wholesome.
Oh my God, thank you. Thank you.
I hope that it reaches the right people that need to hear the words.
Absolutely. Send and share, because this is coming from such a loving and honest place. You and I both love art so much. We have our hearts in the right place and we want the right people to access it. So spread this conversation, right? Don't we want love and creativity just to rule the world, right? Yes. And flirt with that universe.
Yes. I love that.
I love
it. Thank you, Rachel.
All right, my love. Well, we will chat soon, but love and light to everyone out there.
See you in the UK.
Yes.
So exciting. Bye.
Bye.